Morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to improve your virtual presentation skills, how to be more interactive, how to be more engaging, and how to use these systems available to you to be more effective when you're on a virtual meeting or a virtual presentation. What I teach is not platform specific. So whether you're a Teams, a WebEx, or a Zoom user, the skills are generic and, in my view, go across all platforms. So Peter Jew's my name, and welcome everyone. I'm here today in Perth on Whadjuk country of the Noongar Nation, and it's a real pleasure to be here. And I want to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. Virtual presentation skills. Whether we like it or not, I think virtual presentations and the hybrid meeting are here to stay. Can I get you all to type questions in as we go into the box? I'm going to do a new share. So type questions in the box, take notes, participate, think. Have you got a presentation coming up via Zoom, via Teams? What might you do differently? Or have you got one in the past that you think about and maybe you cringe, or you realise you could have done something that would have been more effective? So please keep that in mind. And remember, if I move through stuff too quickly and you need to review anything, send me an email after the presentation, and I am recording this and it will be available to all participants who registered via my YouTube channel at a later date, and we'll let you know when that's available. So just contact us and say, Peter, had to leave early. I'd really like to review some of your methodology. Can you send me the recording? So I'm going to start with virtual presentations, some etiquette around virtual presentations, things where I get feedback that people make mistakes or where they have issues. So the first etiquette, I think, is arrive early. Arrive early. 2 or 3, in fact, most of you are on between 10 and 5 minutes early. I tested my slides, I tested my microphone and my audio, and everything worked. I was on 15 minutes early and realized I had a microphone problem. So I had to change microphones, and I've gone from a podcasting microphone to a headset. I don't know whether I need to upgrade my software, whether something else has happened, one of the cords have been broken or frayed. This is the advantage of getting on early. It's really hard as a presenter to engage with your audience, to have a little bit of chat and understanding if people are logging on just as you're about to start, or even 5 minutes after you've started. And trying to sort out technical problems as you're about to start puts added pressure on you as a presenter. Get on early, test everything out, do a meet and greet as you would ordinarily on a face-to-face meeting. So those of you who jumped on early, which is most of you, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Dress appropriately for your Zoom meeting, for your Teams meeting. Here's a question. And in the chat box or the Q&A box, what rule, I'm going to open up the chat box, what rule do you think we should apply in terms of a dress code? Wear pants. Yes. This gentleman is rather swish. This gentleman's rather swish. You notice I'm not wearing a tie. I'm not wearing a coat. Here's my philosophy. Dress for the presentation. Yeah, here's my philosophy. I would dress as if I am meeting with you face to face, as if I'm delivering this presentation to you face to face. So at the moment, smart casual is the attire I'm wearing. I do workshops, and Andrew, I know you're in Port Hedland, so I'm assuming mining, resource sector. When I'm doing workshops for BHP or Rio, virtual training workshops for the mining sector here in Perth, I will dress as if I was there. So I would wear either my high-vis orange vest, generally for BHP, or my Rio shirt when I go to Yandi Kujina, when I'm presenting to Yandi Kujina or someone else in Rio. I would dress as if I was in the room with you. Would I put steel cap boots on? No, I'm not going to put steel cap boots on, but I'm going to dress appropriately. I've also do a bit of work with some of the law firms. And with a law firm, I would be a little bit closer to the gentleman that we spoke, and I would just put a coat on, a suit coat, maybe a lighter color shirt. I don't wear a tie. So I would dress appropriately for the group that I'm working with. It's part of your personal branding. And I think who you are on stage face-to-face, who you are at job interview face-to-face needs to be who you are in a virtual meeting, in a virtual job interview. You need to be the same person. It's personal branding. So I would dress as if I was meeting with you face-to-face. One other thing with dress, be careful. I have a beautiful shirt with a pattern that tends to pixelate and cause a little bit of fuzzy furry. So some of the clothing that we can wear can be really quite distracting. So I do not wear this shirt when I'm doing a virtual presentation. I do wear this shirt when I present face-to-face, usually with a coat. So think a little bit more about how you turn up to the meeting. We've seen a lot of Zoom presentations on the ABC News, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel News, where the person is really quite inappropriate, or their credibility, takes a dive. They may have just had a phone call, an issue's happened, they're an expert, and they're on doing a Zoom chat with the ABC, whatever channel presenter, and they're looking quite scruffy, quite unprepared. So dress. Any comments on dress? Dress for the presentation. All right. Distractions. Remove any distractions that you may have. I've got a lovely photo of a calendar that you see behind me. I took this photo in March. It is really quite a distraction. And some of you would have been looking at, in fact, I will tell you what July's picture is. July is some emus and a boab tree. This calendar is made by a West Australian artist down in Denmark. Remove distractions. I put a green pen in my top pocket deliberately because it contrasts. But any distractions that you have, try and remove them so you're seen as clean. Your image, your nonverbal communication pops, and people focus on that rather than the bookshelf. I've seen people with bookshelves, and I'm looking at the books. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Who Moved My Cheese? Chicken Soup for the Soul. Wow, this person's really good, really well read in professional development. So any distractions? They're visual distractions. My mobile phone is on silent. Doorbell, if the doorbell rings, those kinds of things when you're doing virtual presentations, remove those distractions. This is just basic etiquette that I'm covering at the moment. Bandwidth, conserve bandwidth. Turn off your Netflix. If you've got multiple computers or multiple devices, especially if you're working from home, you want your internet to be at its optimum. So do conserve bandwidth. Privacy and background noise. This is a little bit of distractions, but you know, when people walk in, we've seen the British MP doing a BBC cross live BBC, doing an update, and their child comes into the room on their tricycle. And then you see the wife sort of sneaking in, trying to retrieve the child. Quite comical. We've seen people walking past the window or the door in their underwear. Pretend you're in a ABC studio, radio studio, whatever channel, and you're on air. A sign goes on air. Lock the door, and you need that privacy from background noise as well as visual noise. If you're working in an open plan, maybe you need to book a little meeting room for your particular presentation for your meeting. Because if you're in an open plan and you're talking like I am, that can be distracting to other people. And interact and participate. I really find it awkward when I'm doing a live training. Now, this is a webinar, so this is a short, sharp tutorial, but when I'm doing the BHP virtual presentations, the Rio virtual presentations, the Law Society of WA virtual presentations, everyone has their camera and you see all those heads. And those people who have their camera turned off. So all I'm doing is talking to a blank screen. It can be quite hard when you're presenting because you don't get interaction. So I'd encourage you to turn your camera on when you're doing a virtual meeting or a virtual presentation. Basic etiquette. Should you eat and drink? I do have my water with me. As a professional speaker, I would always encourage people to have drinks of water up the front with them. You need to keep your vocal apparatus lubricated. I also have a cup of herbal tea, which I may sip on if my throat gets a little bit dry. I have a bit of a croaky voice. I think as a speaker presenter, you should have water, maybe a cup of tea or coffee, especially at a meeting. People often bring their takeaway coffee to a meeting. I would avoid the apples, the hamburgers, you know, even in face-to-face, the tuna sandwich in a meeting room can be quite distracting. You want to keep yourself kind of clean, not cluttered, not doing extraneous things like fidgeting, chewing on a hamburger. So my recommendation when people say, you know, is it okay to eat and bring my lunch to a virtual meeting? No one can see me. I would avoid it. And so what do other people do? They then turn off their camera and then they start to eat the hamburger. So I now lose that visual interaction with you. All right, let's move on to so that's just some basic etiquette. Arriving early, the way we dress, the way we rock up, our personal branding. Here's some more technical principles that I think will help ensure your presentation goes really well. First thing, lighting is really important. Lighting should be in front of you. Having a window behind you or lighting behind you can cause shadows and make you look dark. So I would always make sure you have good lighting in front. I'll show you my lighting in a moment. If you don't have good lighting, when I first started having to move to virtual presentations, I used to put 2 bed lamps, take my bed lamps out of the bedroom and put 2 bed lamps on the desk, and they would provide enough light on my face. Camera positioning is really important. Make sure the camera is above your eyes so that you're looking up at the camera. Also, you need to look at the camera when you're speaking. You might have a screen, you might have some notes. Try and avoid looking down and talking and looking at the people's heads. The camera for me is above the heads, so I need to look at the camera. I need to talk down the camera as if you were in the room. Hybrid meetings become really quite difficult, and what people do is they tend to focus on the people in the room. And I attend to everyone's needs, and yeah, what do you want, Bill and Sarah? Yes, that's a good idea, Sarah. And I neglect the people in the virtual room. Please understand, hybrid meetings, some people in the room with you physically and other people zooming in or teaming in. You need to give equal attention, equal importance to the people in the virtual room. And I would amplify my voice and my non-verbal gestures. I'd amplify when I'm engaging the virtual world, and I'd tone things down a little bit when I'm dealing with the people in the room. And I need to give each participant equal time to ask questions, to participate. Common mistake. People in the real room feel they can interrupt, ask a question anytime they want to. And I deal with those, I attend to those needs, and I forget to attend to the needs of the people in the virtual room. Comments so far, hybrid meetings, virtual meetings. What are some of the issues you face with your virtual meetings? As you type in, one of the mistakes with camera positioning is we look up people's noses. So they have their laptop turned at an angle and the camera is looking up their nose. You do not want to look up my nose. I can guarantee that. Microphone use. Here's the most important thing about video, about virtual presentations. The most important thing about video is audio. You can get away with less brilliant cameras, less brilliant video, but if the audio is bad and people don't hear you clearly, that causes a bigger problem. So please test your microphone and choose a microphone that works. I'm using a headset today. I mentioned that I have a problem with my existing one. Let me show you the other microphone that I use, especially when I'm podcasting and when I'm doing live meetings. Let me show you my setup. So I've just switched cameras. There's my 2 studio lights. There's my 2 screens. There's my speaker. I also have a timer. It's just my mobile phone, by the way, but a timing app. I've got a pen and paper in case I need to take notes. And there is my Rode podcasting microphone on a boom that I normally use, but today it was misbehaving. So I'm going to push that just out of the way. Oh, notice the smiley head on top of my camera. This is you. you're engaged, so I need to look at you, and the smiley face encourages me to keep focused on serving you. So that's my simple setup. I also have 2 cameras, and when I'm workshopping, I will often put this camera onto a flip chart. So a real manual flip chart, and now I can spontaneously draw an image, draw a model. I know there's virtual whiteboards available on Zoom, Teams, and all the other apps, but I also like that ability to use a real whiteboard or a real flip chart in the room. And then if it is a hybrid meeting and I've got some people in the room face to face and I want to do something on the whiteboard, all I do is I switch cameras on my Teams or Zoom, and then I go to the whiteboard, and that camera that I just used to show you my setup would be focused on the whiteboard. Should I stand up to present? Yes, always. Standing up changes your physiology, changes your breathing, and your nonverbal communication becomes more animated, and it gives you more energy when you stand up. So I would always stand up whenever I'm having a Teams meeting, a Zoom's meeting, running a workshop, a presentation, a short, sharp session like this. Stand up. Some people say, but how can I stand up? I've only got a dining room table at home or a small desk in my office. When I travel, I've just got back from Bendigo and Swan Hill. I often do meetings, or the Zoom, the webinar that I've scheduled occurs while I'm interstate. I will have a stack of books that I'll put on the table. I'll put some bedside lights. I'll take my headset with me, and I'll stand up and run this presentation in a hotel room in Bendigo, in Swan Hill, in Port Hedland, in Karratha. I just think it makes a big difference when we stand up and present. Any questions or comments at this stage? Should I use a virtual background? You know, the backgrounds where you have a tropical beach, the backgrounds where you have the Golden Gate Bridge. Generally not. It's causes that fuzzy furring thing, especially my beard, and between your fingers you get that, you know, that amphibian type look. If you have a really good computer with good processor, good power, it can often eliminate that blur. The other thing you can do is a green screen. I don't have a green screen. I just have a white wall, and that can eliminate that blur. And you can do really quite a professional presentation with a virtual background. I have other virtual backgrounds, like an office scene, which I can use if I wanted to create that. Maybe I'm doing online mental health counselling, mental health first aid. Generally, I avoid virtual backgrounds because I'm a visual learner, and I'm going to be looking at the chair, the bookshelf, whatever you've got there that's going to pique my interest. If you've got kids running around, or you've got a distracting background, the bookshelf that you don't want to distract, then you can do the blur. I think the blur takes away any family photos, any identifying features, and just has a general blur. So there are those times when you may want to use a virtual background. Generally, I don't use a virtual background. I like a nice clean surface, and I try and wear clothes that make me stand out as a presenter. So it's not just the PowerPoint slides. You're watching what I'm doing. You're seeing what I'm doing. And the other thing I do periodically when I'm presenting is I like to stop share. And that just enables me to, I now become the focus. If I leave my PowerPoint slides up, it's sort of death by PowerPoint. Going to pause for a moment. Any questions? Any comments? Just type in the chat box. Who currently stands up when they present? Thanks, Andrew. Tries to. Yep. Claire does. Thank you. Yeah, I think it makes just your physiology. When we sit down, you know, the diaphragm is concertinaed. All right, thanks. Only at the standing desk, and you don't have to have a standing desk. You can have a flat desk and raise your computer up, a stack of books. In the old days, I would have said, you know, the telephone books, the yellow pages or the white pages, we don't get those anymore. You can still work out a way of getting that raising your laptop, or even with a separate camera that plugs into your USB. If the camera's on a little tripod, you can raise the camera up and you can stand even while the computer is down on the desk and you're still standing. All right. How to be more engaging when you're virtually presenting. I just use a little model, and you will have seen some of it today. I tell you some information. A lot of you are auditory learners. And yes, I like the comment. It is time to invest in some additional equipment. We've just sold our house, and settlements in August, and the real estate agents, a team of real estate agents came around, and we staged everything, but we had to keep our office. And the real estate agent said to one of the ladies that came around with her, that she was, I guess, one of the marketing managers, hey, we all need these stand-up desks that Peter's using. They're brilliant. We need these at work. So tell some information. Show. Some of you are visual. Show is the PowerPoint. Show is the stop sharing, new camera on a whiteboard. So as I draw, tell, show, ask, share. And ask, what would you do? How does this work for you? What would you do in this situation? That's the questions I'm asking. Share. Have a chat to the person next to you. You can, would anyone like to do some comments? So when you filled in those chat box, that's sharing your ideas back. Where is everyone today? We've got Port Hedland, we've got Perth. That was you sharing. So do that tell, show, ask, share cycle. I try and do that every 10 to 15 minutes. So if I'm running a 1 hour seminar, probably every 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to check in. And how's everyone feeling? What are you going to do differently now for your next webinar? Tell appeals to the auditory learners. They like to hear. Show appeals to the visual learners. They like to see. Share and ask helps embed the learning but also appeals to the kinesthetic learners. Even on virtual presentations, you need to be able to gauge all learning styles. You can collaborate. You can use the whiteboard, the virtual whiteboard. We can share, and I can allow you to annotate and collaborate on Zoom. You can do the same thing on Teams. You can launch a poll. You can use the virtual whiteboard, or I can use a real flip chart. Just one thing to be aware of. I see people who launch a poll. Why are you here today? Just because it's there. And just because it's there. So if something's got bells and whistles, you don't need to use it just because it's there. The other thing people do is they do breakout rooms, right? We've got 10 people in the room. I'm going to break into 5 groups of 2. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, have a chat. What are you learning? I see breakout rooms overused. Don't do breakout rooms just because they're there. I'm going to put you into groups of 3 for 5 minutes, have a chat, and then come back. Why? For what purpose? What's the reason for going into the breakout room? If you've got 100 people on the conference call and it's going for maybe 1 or 2 hours, maybe you need to use breakout rooms as a way of fast tracking some of your brainstorming, some of the facilitation. But I see people launch polls, do a whiteboard, virtual whiteboard, go into breakout rooms for no reason other than it's there. I can use it. So just a word of caution. Just because it's there, you don't have to use it. But collaboration can use engagements. And as we come to an end, I've mentioned hybrid meetings, people in the Zoom, people in the room. Please don't neglect those people that are Zoom or teaming in. Thanks for the comment, Mia. Breakout rooms in our online student workshops cause students to flee en masse. And the university environment, go to breakout rooms and people say, right, I'm out of here. Yeah, yep. I'm not saying don't use them. Make sure they're for a purpose, and they need to be really well structured. Who's going to be the coordinator in that room? What are they meant to do? And are they going to report back to everyone, or what they did in that 5 minutes breakout room, is that going to remain a mystery? Here's a little tip for hybrid meetings that I learnt. People in the room think that they can just speak whenever they want to. As for a normal meeting, people just say, oh, that's a silly idea. And people in the middle of the room often put sort of a Polycom speaker, a Polycom microphone. Also, there's a jabberer. So as soon as they speak, it picks it up. What I would recommend you do, and so people in the room seem to get precedent over the people in the virtual room. I would have a handheld USB microphone that I as MC would control. And if someone in the room wants to speak, I've got to say, just a moment, I'm going to hand the microphone to Bill. Now, only Bill gets to speak of the 10 people in the room. All right, thanks, Bill. I'm going to take the microphone back. Just a moment, I've got a question from Andrew on the Zoom call. Now I'm going to open up Andrew's camera. So the people in the room don't get the ability to talk over and steal all of the limelight at the neglect of the people who are Zooming in. So have a handheld microphone so no one speaks until you, the MC, say, oh, yes, Bill, and give Bill the microphone in the room. Yes, Andrew, I'm going to open up your microphone, and then Andrew speaks. Peter, use my name. We've gone a little bit over time. Any questions you may have, feel free to email me. Now, whether we like it or not, Zoom, Teams, WebEx, hybrid meetings are here to stay. We've all been participants in some really bad, boring presentations via Zoom, via Teams. Can I ask you to think about what can you do to increase your engagement, increase your professionalism? It's part of your personal branding every time you present, lead, or participate a team virtually. So Peter Dew's my name. Any last questions, just put in the chat box, but I'm going to let you go now. So please go out there, embrace your virtual meetings and change the world, change your communities, change your workplaces one conversation at a time. Bye for now. Thanks, Claire. Appreciate the comment. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you at our next meetings. Bye for now.